Hello everyone, I am Third Mario Brother. Welcome back to Let's Play Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. In the last episode, we finished up Popstar and began on Rockstar by playing its first level, the desert level, and in this episode, we're going to be continuing with Rockstar. And moving on from the desert, we are now in this, I guess, abandoned ancient ruin type of place. I'm not entirely sure what this is supposed to be, but it's a decent level nonetheless. I kind of want to show off Spark and Needle here because it's a very interesting power-up. Not one of my favorites per se, but I like it anyway. I kind of missed that Needle guy there, which... I guess I suck at this game for doing that, so sorry about that, but that actually happens quite a bit if you have jumping enemies or enemies that produce, like, fields of attacks around them, because that gets rid of their attacks anyway. Anyway, these, red flying cat things are Scarfies, and I failed to remember their name in a previous episode, so sorry about that as well, but anyway, Needle and Spark produces this, I guess, lightning rod type of thing, where a bolt strikes the top of Kirby's head, or a bolt comes out from the top of Kirby's head. I'm not entirely sure which it's supposed to be, but it's a decent power-up. It's very good for attacking enemies that are above you, like right there. But if you're attacking an enemy that's right next to you, oftentimes it's not the best, because you can get hurt if the enemy manages to run into your side before the bolt hits you. But anyway, it's a decent power-up overall. At one point in this level, I want to show another new power-up. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to, but... may as well show this one right here. It's pretty hilarious. You ready for this? Best power-up in the entire game. Ready? My hair is on fire! Dexter's Lab references for the win. Be careful in this section right here, because there's a bunch of these falling boulder guys, and they can give you rock power-up if you want them, but this... Fire and Spark power-up, you'd think it'd be something super duper awesome and powerful because Fire and Spark, two very powerful elements, I guess. But nope. It produces what the Kirby series is really great for, which is comedy. I don't mind the power-up because it's meant to be funny. I kind of wish they had incorporated something a little bit more, like, powerful or interesting for a combination of elements like this, like I said, but it's okay nonetheless. It's not really useful for combat or anything because enemies that run into your sides can still defeat you, and it doesn't have that much of a vertical attack radius either, so overall, I wouldn't recommend using this one for anything too combat heavy. If you want a good laugh, though, just go for it. Imagine killing the final boss of this game with your hair on fire. That'd be amazing. Anyway, in this room, there are these ghost guys throwing fire at you. And I can see how this would be hard, but there's an issue with the depth where even if you're like right next to one of these flames, it seems like it can't hit you. And even then, they don't come close enough to where they'd hit you anyway, so this isn't a very difficult room. Finding that crystal shard for the first time, though, I can see why that might be a bit of a challenge. It's kind of hidden away down below, but after finding it your first time, you never really forget. It's like riding a bicycle, her. But here's another room where the whole room's object is kind of nullified. We've got water here, and we've also got me running face first into every single enemy. Like an idiot, but we've got water here, which you don't have to swim in because you can just fly over it. And we've also got these stone pillars, which if you touch them, they start going up. If you get crushed between the pillars, you die instantaneously. However, Kirby can fly. So, if you're smart, or... well, not necessarily if you're smart, but if you want to avoid that challenge in particular, then you could just fly over everything. About Kirby's flying, this is one of the games in the Kirby series where Kirby cannot fly infinitely. He will run out of breath after a while, he'll start struggling, and eventually he'll just fall, and make sure you're not over a pit when that happens, because you will die. Anyway, let's take out this needle guy here. Along here somewhere, there's an ice power-up. Maybe I need to practice this game a little bit more before I go into these recording sessions. Anyway, along here there's an ice power-up. For some reason that purple guy gives you ice, and I really like this power-up. You turn into a giant snowflake and turn the enemies into ice. It's not the most practically useful power-up because it takes a really long time to do anything, and even then the enemies are still technically alive until you push them out of the way or into another enemy or something and kill them, but... yeah, it's a cool power-up. I really like the animation for it. I really like how it looks, and overall I like his power-up, despite how it may not be the most useful out of anything in the game. Anyway, right here, I'm going to try to get just pure ice, just to... oh, apparently you can't suck up the ice cubified versions of these enemies, so I don't know. I guess Needle is fine for now, but moving along... We have our first King Dedede segment of the game, where we piggyback on him and he uses his giant hammer to burst through everything. This is cool and all, but King Dedede, the one complaint I have about his segments, well, they're kind of like labyrinths where you have to navigate around. You don't really fly, even though King Dedede has been shown to fly. You can't suck up enemies either, so you can't get new power-ups. You use his hammer, that's the only weapon you have. The attack button, which you may have used power-ups with before, is now mapped to his hammer, and I'm trying to kill these guys, and for some reason I can't. But my major complaint about King Dedede is that he moves pretty slowly. Maybe it's because he freaking eats all our foods at our picnics. He sits there and gobbles down 2 drumsticks at a time without any remorse, but yeah. King Dedede's a bit slow. It doesn't make the segments bad, and let me see if I can remember where to go here. It doesn't make the segments bad, because they're still fun to play and everything, but it is a bit of a complaint that I have. Anyway, there's a Maxim tomato down here that I'm going to go ahead and risk it for. There's these spider guys, and to kill these, you can either whack them like you normally would any enemy, or you can cut their line where they're connected to the ceiling at, and they'll fall down and die that way too. Kind of a bit of a cruel thing to do to a spider, but whatever. Anyway, this is the way out. Gonna go all the way to the top and to the right. The crystal shard is in the top left of the room, and the exit is in the top right of the room, so I guess that's just an easy way of remembering things. Anyway, there we go. Finished up with that level fairly easily, and I don't think I mentioned it, but you don't need any specific power-up combination to get one of the crystal shards in that level. Now, before moving on to this next level in Rockstar, make sure you have the double rock ability. I went ahead and got it off screen in another level. After getting a power-up in another level that you might need in this level, you can just go ahead and press start and hit the try again button, and that will bring you out to the main area, I guess, and you can just continue on with this power-up. If you get another crystal shard that you missed in a previous level, you can use that try again method as well, so you don't have to go through the entire level to get a certain power-up, or the entire level to get a certain crystal shard or anything. Anyway, the reason we need this double rock power-up is because up ahead, well, of course, we have to break something to get to a crystal shard. That's not much of a spoiler because I've already shown it off before, so sorry about that. But then, anyway, there's these little fuzzy black guys here, and, wow, that was a really awkward way to word that sentence. I'm just marvelous at making everything I say sound somewhat awkward and suggestive or offensive or something. But anyway, yeah, you crack that vertebrae on that dinosaur thing, and that's gotta hurt. Even though it's not alive, I'm sorry, Mr. Dinosaur. I didn't mean to cause all that much pain to you, but anyway, we can go ahead and ditch our rock power now because I want to get something else later. I'm not entirely sure what I have in mind, and I'm going to try to show off all the power-ups in this playthrough, so remind me if I forget to show something off, but I will, I think, at the end of this Let's Play be showing like an index of all the powers, I guess. Anyway, make sure to go off the left here if you want to get all the crystal shards in this game. And there are a couple ways you can defeat this boss. You can either suck up these guys and spit them at the boss and do damage that way, or you can swallow them and get a cutter ability, or you can do my personal favorite and hold one above your head and he'll keep shooting. I love how these enemies interact with you. The ones that don't give you powers often do stuff for you, and even the ones that do give you powers, such as this one, do extra little things like this. And even after shooting his head a million times, which somehow regrows constantly, you can swallow him and get a cutter ability, so that's a very, very useful enemy right there. Anyway, if you took the other path, you could get those 3 little star things. I think I'm just going to call them star bits, just because that's what I'm used to calling small star-shaped objects, because of Super Mario Galaxy. Thank you so much, game. Anyway, here we have another ice power-up, which we can combine with cutter to get ice skating. Yay! I actually like this power-up. Again, it's not one of the ones that's too useful for combat per se, because you can only do damage with it while you're jumping, so that's a little bit awkward, and you're always moving forward, so combat's made a little bit awkward with it, but it's really fun to play. It's really fun to run directly into an enemy with it, but no, it's fun to play around with, and it's fun to move faster with it, and it kind of makes you feel acrobatic. This isn't the absolute best area you could get it in, though, because there's a bunch of hills and a bunch of water, and a lot of these invincible enemies that you can't kill. I'm not sure what these things are called that keep jumping out of the sand pits here, but they're dangerous. Make sure not to get into a tussle with them. Make sure not to meet them in a dark alley at night, because that wouldn't turn out good. Anyway, here we are at the first water segment of the game. Oh man, everybody's favorite part of the video game. The water segments, yeah. Actually, in Kirby, the water segments aren't too bad because they're not overly long. They don't... Well, they changed the control scheme, but you can still use your powers and stuff, and you can still kill all the enemies just as you could before. You do move a bit slower, which is a major gripe of mine in any water segment of any video game. To go upward, just mash the A button like you would in, for example, a two-dimensional Mario game, but you have to press the A button quite a bit more in this game to get anywhere if you're going upward, but we're fighting against this current, and we're fighting against these... It looks like those I think that's in plural, but looks like those vertebra of the monster's spine that we broke earlier. Bad way to word that sentence, maybe a bit confusing, but we made it past it. We got that crystal shard, and there we go. Finished with that level as well. And to finish off the level, let's just swim straight into this monster's mouth. Nothing bad could happen, right? No, it's just the end of the level. I think we have time for one more in this video. Aw, poor Kirby. I think we have time for one more level in this video, so let's go ahead and move on to this last level of Rockstar right before the boss, which is... Well, we come out of this cave, and we come into... I should have grabbed that bomb power up there. We come into this desert, and there's that giant, like, alien spaceship, or whatever it is, in the back, just kind of taking off, but it's not really taking off, it's just activating, I guess, but... Anyway, I'm going to move ahead and try to respawn that bomb power-up, because we do need a bomb power-up for later in the level. That boar right there, that was actually a boss in Kirby's Dream Land 2. I'm not sure about other games, but at least it's modeled after a boss in Kirby's Dream Land 2, so that's a nice little reference. And right here, make sure to either move fast or turn around to kill this thing, because it is coming after you. It seems like those Diglett enemies that have the surprised face are a little bit difficult to see in the desert, so... I don't know. When I'm rushing, which I often do with this game, which is often why my health is so low like it is right now, I tend to run into those a lot, but normally you're supposed to go on the platform here, but I just got a sudden peak of curiosity, so I wonder what's over here. Wow, is that it? Just one star bit? Wow. Freaking game designers, you guys are tempting us so badly with one star bit after all that effort. Anyway, we go in here, and we get a new musical track that sounds kind of like... It sounds like it'd be fitting for kind of a puzzle game. It sounds kind of industrial, to be honest, but it fits the inside of this place, and I like it a lot. Anyway, we have these cannons firing at us, and this section can actually be pretty difficult, especially if you're commentating and not focusing on where all the cannons are aiming, but just watch where they're aiming and you should be fine. Beat the platform there, yay! And this segment, which also kind of reminds me of a puzzle game, this whole level looks like it should be part of a puzzle game, but it isn't because it's a Kirby platforming game, but like, these look like they could be in a Tetris-themed game, and you know what I'm talking about, I hope. But, yeah, there's a crystal shard in the middle there, and the power we need to get something in this level is... Well, the power we need to get another crystal shard in this level is Bomb and Spark, so let's go ahead and grab that Spark enemy there. That enemy right there doesn't really look like an enemy, because he's just kind of sitting there stationary, not moving at all, and he's not even showing his eye. What a coward. Anyway, the reason we need this power is because you go in here, press the B button, and it lights up those 3 paintings in the background. In the next room, we're going to have to press 3 switches sequentially to activate a crystal shard. I'm not sure if you can actually just randomly guess, or if you have to have this power up and it activates something within the game's engine that says, hey, this guy's clear to go, but I've never actually guessed this correctly myself, so I'm not entirely sure if it's possible. If you know that it is, please post a comment down below, I would love to know. And let's go ahead and grab the crystal shard. Even if it is possible to guess, though, it is really just a random event, and it's very, very unlikely that it'll happen, so just make sure to get Bomb and Spark, and it'll make your life a lot easier. So moving on, we have a little bit of a platforming segment here, and I kind of want to show off Spark and Spark, which we haven't done yet, so there we go. Grab it, and Kirby does this sort of like weird dance thing, like he's trying to communicate with spirits from the beyond. Kirby, don't do it. There's Ouija boards for that, you know? But yeah, the radius is much greater than the normal Sparks is, so it's a much more useful power-up. And here we have a mini-boss fight with a Spark enemy, and if you have his own power-up, you can just sit under him and do this, and it's a very, very easy fight. Yeah, Double Spark is a little bit overpowered because it's a huge range attack that makes you basically invincible to anything except crushing for that amount of time. And in this room, we have more Spark enemies. I actually don't think you can suck these guys up, so I don't think they're classified as Spark enemies, but they're electric enemies, and I guess they are Sparks, so I don't know. There's food on either side, which I collected because my health was low, and we just finished the level. That's about all for this episode of Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards. I'm sorry for leaving you guys off on a bit of a cliffhanger right before the boss of Rockstar, but you know, I don't want this Let's Play to end in like 4 parts, so I will see you guys next time where we take on the boss of Rockstar, finish up the level, and continue with Kirby 64. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys then.